Welcome in. How are we doing today? Hope we're doing well. Here, that printer cam still didn't come up. There it is. We're going to, printer's running a little bit behind. I realized I'd actually ran out of filament. So that's going to be, starting momentarily, because I had to swap that out last second. I also realized that apparently searching for something, as far as the printer, it's just because the bed is all the way forward, I think. Although you're, There we go. We're gonna do that. Top camera has decided to go on an adventure again, for some reason. Gotta redo this circular joint. It's just really not cutting it anymore. There we go. Okay, so the 3D printer is currently heating up the bed. You're gonna see it do the probing cycle soon, so you'll know what's going on with that. Oh, hi there. How are you today? I was totally unable to find double-sided tape. Completely and totally unable to. I was completely unable to find double-sided tape, so I'm partially wondering if I might be able to convince the carrot to run out to the shop for me and pick up a roll of it. Because if I do, that means that I can make this happen. If not, I do have a workaround that would let me still do this, but double-sided tape would be the better option. Carrot did do fantastic today. It was an excellent and super fantastic and entertaining stream. I very much enjoyed it. Yeah, so first thing up today, there's basically two things that need to happen. First and foremost.
Okay, what kind? Sorry, I'm just gonna interrupt super fast.
Yeah.
What kind of double-sided tape do you want?
Double-sided tape that I can cut up to put on these faces to stick the dice onto.
So like not just like Scotch double-sided
That's
tape,
fine.
like oh okay.
Yeah,
I just
Scotch double-sided tape, like
Amazing.
like the double-sided, like normally it's
Oh hi there.
Oh hi
I
there.
know it's been a really long time. However, actually, I do need to show these off because I'm actually really happy with these.
Which camera you want to go
I don't
for?
know which camera is easier. Look at these. Look at these pretty click-clacks.
Click click.
Yeah, there's a little, the green's not fully coming through on this, but it honestly looks like.
I can literally watch the camera shift right now. I really need to fix that, don't I?
Yeah. It's, Dermo, hi!
Hey Dermo, how you doing today?
Yeah, I'm really, if I actually just come in super close here for a second, you can kind of see the, actually, there you go, you can now see the green.
Oh.
There it is. Very, kind of like the world, like the globe. Yeah, there you go. Now that I've ruined your camera.
You're good.
Alright, so you don't really care what kind of tape it is, you just need double-sided
I
tape?
just need thin double-sided tape. Literally all
Yeah.
it's to do is to stop the dice from floating away. That's it.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah, it just needs just enough tack to hold them in place. I don't need some super industrial, never come off until you're dead or even later tape.
Nice. That's shout out to the Robert Munch reference there. I love it. Do we need anything? Oh, yes, we do need other things. We need toilet paper and parchment.
All the things off the list?
All the things off of your list, yes.
Whatever do you mean? I totally didn't forget literally everything that was important when I was at the store.
It was toilet paper.
The list is in our chat.
Parchment, bags, foil.
I think we're okay on aluminum foil.
I'll let me go to chat. He got everything else. He did a great job at the store, with the exception of like the things that we were like, hey, let's go to the store for that.
basically we needed to do some like assorted groceries, and then there was a couple of things that were on the we don't normally grab this list, like pack of toilet paper, freezer bags, parchment paper, that kind of stuff. But like the rest of it was just like groceries, you know, snacking meats and you know, cream and eggs and all of that other stuff. Ended up getting a lot of groceries, did a really good job there. Fridge is nice and full, but not so much on the rest of it.
Yeah.
So the first thing we're going to be doing today is
texting you the list so that I have the list.
Is snacking meats, right? Snacking meats are very important. Snacking meats are essential. Snacking meats and hand cheese. Snacking meats and hand cheese are where it's at. So this here is the lid for my homemade pressure pot. I have largely avoided showing pretty much any part of this thing on stream just so that I'm not responsible for anybody's general safety. But for the most part, this is the thing. Like you can see, let's see if I zoom in here, get a good glare going. Ooh, yeah, you can't really see. Basically there's a seal here that is made out of some foam rubber. I think it might actually be butyl rubber, but whatever. It's a seal. It's been going well, but we've also been using this thing for a couple of months now, and it's been patched and repatched and glued and re-glued, and the glue, it keeps popping and failing, and what ends up happening is if the seal fails while putting a set of dice, you could potentially ruin that set of dice and waste a bunch of material. So we're going to cut the old seal off, cut a new one from some gasket material I got at the top of the screen here. This is the seal that came with this lid. It is not sufficient for this purpose. It's a seal meant for sealing water, but it just doesn't have enough squish to actually stop air from coming through. The water basically seals just with the threads alone. So we're just going to dive right into just getting this thing cut off. Yeah, so this is one of those things where pressure chambers for dice are a weird subset where pretty much nobody is actually making dedicated dice pressure chambers or resin pressing chambers in general. It's usually like, oh hey, you got a paint pressure pot and you change the valve arrangement, or you know, you got like a pressure cooker that you rearranged, or whatever the case is. They're almost always some variation of DIY something or other. But usually the DIY versions that are available on the internet are, you know, $300, $400, $500 to actually make, but are much larger. But I only need to be able to fit like a set of dice in at a time because, you know, we're not doing this commercially or anything. We're doing this for our own entertainment. So I don't need to have this be ridiculous. I just need this to work well enough for what we need. So that's what so this only can hold like 1 to 2 mold. It can hold 2 of the mold style that we do at a time. Specifically because the molds that we make have been built for that particular purpose. But otherwise, most other, like the bigger versions, you'd be able to put in, like if you made your molds right, you could put in, you know, like 5 or 10 or 15 sets all at the same time. But we're just not making that many dice. If we started like a dice shop, that's very much be very, very, very rapidly moving in that direction, because one set at a time is just not sustainable for larger production. But I don't think we're doing larger production anytime soon. Although, as I've said to Carolyn before, we really do need to start figuring out some pricing, because we're making these dice, and this is not necessarily the cheapest hobby around, and lots of people want them, and we've given a bunch of friends dice, but at the end of the day, it does cost us money to make them. And as much as I love giving friends gifts and such, you know, there's a certain line where you gotta start kind of recouping some of that. So, and then maybe small volume custom orders or something like that. I don't know. Coffee shop, don't need to take custom orders to start with. Just make the ones you want to make, put them up for sale. Yeah, the big tricky thing is that what's going on there? 1 second. Okay. Sorry about that. 3D printer filament clogged on me and was trying to end the world over there, so just had to quickly fix that. Alright, let's get a bunch of this nonsense out of the way. About to redeem posture check. Yeah, the big thing though about making custom dice is like casting it is the really fun part. That's great. But then you also have whoa, that could have been really bad. Oh my. We're off to a great start here today. Just about knocked over my my water glass. But managed to save it. So we're all good. Yeah, so making custom dice, you get like the actual physical casting portion, like hands-on, is probably only about 10 minutes, right? But then once it comes out, you need to then obviously wait for the resin to finish curing before you can do any polishing. So then obviously it takes up space for that amount of time. Then you need to trim the flashing. That's, 15-20 minutes a set, plus sanding. Which can oftentimes be upwards of an hour or more per set, depending on how badly damaged it is. Then you have to deal with inking, which can then also be somewhere up on an hour or so. Thankfully, the computer is in that direction, and the water is that direction. Very intentional. I don't think it would have actually damaged anything over there if it leaked, but it just would have been a big mess to clean up. That's the problem. But But like making dice start to finish, you're probably looking at 3+ hours per set.
All right. So, tape plus that other stuff.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. I will be back shortly.
Hockey.
Okay.
Love you.
Okay. I'm leaving Gray's in charge. Sorry,
I almost knocked my water glass over.
Oh, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. Well, you have fun with that, and I'll be back in.
Okay, I love you. But yeah, making custom dice is like somewhere in the like three, maybe 4 hours worth of labor. And even if you go at a, you know, fairly conservative, like $15 an hour, you're already looking at like $45 to $60, then plus shipping, plus materials and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, like, paying, you know, $60, $70, $80, $100 for a set of dice seems really drastic until you actually break out the, until you break out the costs and to see whether or not it's actually worth your time, for business side. And like, there are people that are selling their dice for like $200-$300 a set, and clearly that is very obviously worth your time at that point. But at the same time, there's a lot of people selling dice on the market, and you're trying to compete with all of them, especially when you're first starting out. Nobody knows who you are, nobody cares. It's hard to sell your dice, at which point you end up selling them either for ridiculously low wages, where it's probably not worth your time to get known, or you sell almost none, and hope that you can grow naturally that way. So it's that tricky balance of like, and I mean, the reality is it's no different than like commissioned artwork, right? Like doing doing like, say, like D&D art. You know, there are people out there charging $300-$400 to do D&D art, and there are people out there charging $20, and everywhere in between. And some of the artists that are charging like $80 or $100 for character portraits, like the artist that's doing Carolyn's getting a very, very realistic portrait done for her character, had something very, very specific in mind, and managed to find one of the original artists related to some of the concept art Carrot stole for their character. I think they only were like $100 and some odd for this beautiful, like, photorealistic portrait. Other artists doing the same work, charging $300, $400, $500 for that same thing. And the reality is the ones that can charge that much are the ones that know. You got to make sure you don't price yourself out of the market, otherwise you can never grow. But you also need to make sure you can eat while you're doing your stuff. It's this ridiculous circle, and of course, the labor that goes into making art has never been really appreciated. Doesn't matter what field you're in, whether that's music or painting or portraiture, dice, woodworking, whatever. So it does become that thing of like, okay, how many people, like, I don't think that the people in our particular communities that have the money to actually look at custom dice would balk at, you know, $60, $70 for a set of dice. But how many of those are there, and how far would that actually spread to make it worth our time to set up a shop and deal with setting up shipping, logistics, and such and such and such and such, right? All this talk just makes me feel like I can't survive in that area. I mean, D&D art is a very popular thing, but the big thing about D&D art, at least, is styles are very unique to a particular artist, right? Dice, we all tend to use like the same techniques. We frequently will troll other dice makers' pages and go, yeah, I could make that, and then duplicate the dice they make, because realistically we're all using the same materials and generally the same techniques. So where is the differentiating factor between that maker and this maker? There really isn't one, unless there is a significant skill difference of like, this maker doesn't know how to do that technique yet because they haven't taken the time to learn. But like, I could ask 10 artists to make me 10 portraits, and all 10 are going to look notably different, generally speaking. So I can, at that point, I can go and look and go, yes, that is your differentiating factor. I want your particular art. And there are some dice makers out there that are doing stuff of that nature, but they're doing some really, really intricate and crazy dice. And those are the ones that are charging, you know, $200 a set, because they're doing what's referred to as inserts for the most part, is where a lot of the really expensive dice come. Which, an insert is where you cast the dice without any numbers on them. So it's a dice that goes inside of your dice. So you cast this blank-faced dice with whatever weird stuff inside you want. Then you can like paint the outside, put stickers on it. You can drill it out and put like metal inlays, whatever you want to do. Something really, really particular and intricate. And then you take that shape and then shove it inside of another dice mold that actually has the numbers, and you wrap the whole thing in resin. Obviously you're casting twice, so that's actually doubling, so to a certain extent, almost doubling your labor. It's not quite equal to double, because the finishing processes in the middle aren't the same, but it's still quite a lot. That disconnect in my Scumberg brain is where I'm struggle bussing. Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is you've got, like, the Twitch community is very supportive. And there's definitely a lot more people that are going to be interested in custom art and custom emotes and custom frames and all that stuff than will be interested in custom dice. Vader, welcome in, friend. How you doing today? We're just talking about the value of art and the nature of being a artist entrepreneur in today's online market. While I work on redressing the seal for my dice pressure pot, because it is old and tired, and the way it is actually set up is not super friendly for maintenance, but if all goes well, it generally shouldn't need much, but it's been opened a couple of times before the pot was depressurized, which shreds the seal a little bit. So we're just trying to get ahead of that before it causes a problem. Say that, you got a huge demand for Dice.io. You know, like, I've seen a whole bunch of people like, give dice, but like when it comes down to it, how many people actually have, say, $70 to spend on $70 plus shipping for a set of dice? You know? Like, let's be honest. The dice you buy from, you know, Chessex on the at your local hobby store are going to cost you $15, and they roll just as well. So what's the incentive? Right? Like, there's a lot of people that want free dice. Not a lot of people that will actually pay for dice. And I mean, it's the same way with art. A lot of people want free art. Not a lot of people want to pay for art. Alright, I think I'm happy with where that ceiling face is at. We'll see how that looks as we cut the next seal. So, I have... the material I'm using is actually going to be slightly different than the last time I did this. Because I got this mixed pack material, and the one that I had is this one, and the one I'm going to be using is this one, and this one is about half the thickness. So it's going to have a little less squish, but I don't think that's going to be too big of a problem. But it's the same overall material. It's still that same butyl rubber situation. And we only need to be able to hold like 30 PSI, so. Post to the meme in Discord. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when the client asks if you can do it cheaper, yes, absolutely. Just not the, everything can be done a ton of different ways. You just might not like the outcome. Actually, this is, yeah, that's pretty tight for the, so I can use, this is why I kept this one. Man, that thing is just way out there. Get over here. God, I hate this thing. It is just, I really need to reprint a couple of those joints. They're getting real dodgy. I think I might need to actually completely redesign one or two of them. The most of them are finger joints that pivot like this, but one of them is a socket, almost not. It's a pin and socket swivel, and it's the actual grub screw on it is just garbage. It doesn't work very well. So I think what I want to do is redesign it to be a little bit more user friendly. Yes. Because currently, it sucks. It's one particular joint that keeps failing, which is the one that controls this. So I've got, I would show you if it didn't involve ridiculousness. But basically, I've got a ceiling-mounted bracket like this. And then around that is a little collar. And it has the first set of joints that come off of that. So basically, if we look at it from the top, I've got the arm, and then I've got a joint, and then the arm, and then I've got a joint, and another arm, and then another joint, and then I have this other pin, and then on the end of that where I have the camera, I have a swivel that can go left and right. So this one can pivot. These ones can all go up and down. And then this one can pivot, and this one can rock. So it can get me most places on my desk, but when this joint here keeps failing, what ends up happening is it slips, and the camera goes from being steady, and it does this. Which then gives me all the problems. So, yeah, so we're trying to minimize that, but as you can imagine, there's only so much you can do without just straight up reprinting the whole thing. Like, the rest of the arm works really great. They're all solid screws and such, but the other portion of it really sucks. That one elbow. It's not great. If I had a silver Sharpie on hand, I would have done that so y'all could see this a little bit better, but you're just going to have to trust me that I'm cutting on the line. I'm going to cut it slightly oversized because I only have one sheet of this. So if I want to sneak up to the size I need, rather than cutting it too small to try and make a nice slim seal, and then end up ruining the material, and having to say, oops, sorry, we don't have a pressure pot anymore, I need to go buy more material. I do have some cork-based sealers, but I would rather use this stuff. This is a little bit better for this particular application. So... what's the benefit over cork? So cork is really great for sealing against gases, against hot gases predominantly. This is going to be lower temperature, but the cork can handle slightly higher temperatures. This will start melting sooner. but this is going to be less porous, so it's going to create a stronger seal. And I'm not dealing with high temperatures, I'm dealing with low to medium pressures that I just need it to hold for a long period of time and not lose any pressure. Any kind of leakage is a problem because we're looking at time spans of like 10 to 12 hours, and it's a very, very small chamber. So even a tiny bit of air egress causes a fairly substantial drop inside the tire. Or not inside the tire, inside the chamber. Because like if your tire, for instance, is leaking, we've all had a tire that had a slow leak, and it might be like a couple of days, hook up a pump to it, bring it back up, and you're good to go. Whereas in this case, the chamber is only about this big, right? So even a tiny, tiny bit of a leakage drops that PSI. And as the PSI goes down, the bubbles come back up, and then we ruin a set of dice. And that's obviously no good for us. Also, this has a little bit more flex, so it lets me get a tighter shape fit to the body. The cork stuff tears if you try and stretch it. So I'd have to make it so that it's bigger than all the threads to get over. I'd prefer not to have to do that. I like having this sizing. So right now, the way it's cut, I've got a little bit of a lip, but that's actually really good for what we're doing. Because what I'm going to do, then I'm going to grab some super glue. I'm going to put it underneath this rim all the way around. Really nice and well, get a good clean surface there. And then I'm going to screw this onto the pressure pot. Because the pressure pot is going to provide that nice even pressure across the whole seal, and any hot spots are going to get compressed a little bit more, any light spots are going to make it all happen, so it should actually conform to a certain extent to the pressure pot the way we need it to. So that's important. And the glue is to prevent the pot lid, or the seal from spinning. Because the problem is if the seal spins, it's not making good contact with the surface, and we end up with two surfaces that we need to worry about leaking rather than just the one. And we can lubricate the one side with like Vaseline or whatever, but if it keeps spinning, that also is going to shred the seal over time and is going to make an inferior product over what we can get if we can just glue one side down. It does mean that come time for maintenance that it's problematic and that we have to plexi for where we want it to go, and then we'll grab a ruler and we will score it and go from there. I'll be honest, I didn't actually expect you to be somebody who had a voice assistant. Just because I figured that the Daddy Google is listening thing would be, or Daddy Amazon. Full hypocrite. Yeah, like, that's the thing, is, like, I'm very mindful about my security when I'm actually, like, hands on the browser, and then I put these things in, like, nearly every room of our house. Now, granted, in... Oh, Jesus. This one was actually free in my home. Anonymous gifter today. Hippo Gray. Okay. Apparently the ruler isn't working very nicely because this piece is a little smaller than it probably should be for this particular task. So the fun thing with plexiglass is you don't actually need to fully cut it. Hypo instead of hyper. You don't actually need to cut plexiglass all the way through, like grabbing a saw or something like that. You totally can. You can run it through like a table saw or whatever. But you can also, with a good seam like that, do it similar as if you were glazing glass, and basically give it a good fault line, and it will it'll break along that line. Ta-da! See? You might need to come back in and clean it up a touch. Depends on how excitable you were when you actually made the seam. Like, I didn't care enough, and I probably should have gone over that line 4 or 5 more times. But that's why we have razor blades and files and all that other stuff. So thank you for the anonymous gift sub. Thank you so very much. I also saw that, I also realized after stream that last stream, when Jay was in the tip jar framing JC Panda, JC Panda actually ended up framing JFP. Because I thought that all of the tips in that stream were from them, but one of the follow showing display setup that they use for cons, it looks like something that could definitely have been cheaper 3D printed. I was wondering who did that. Yeah, I thought that all of them were JFP, but nope. Jay got reverse framed. Also, hi, welcome to the chat today. Make sure that that is our right width, and then we can cut it to appropriate height once we have. So there we go. So this gives us our, I can't remember the last time I donated in my own name. So this gives us our little mold box. And it means that these pieces will more or less, if I'm not trying to pick it up and pivot the thing around, these pieces will more or less actually stay still when I go to glue them in place. So I can grab hot glue, run a seam all the way around the perimeter, and that'll stop the silicone from leaking out, and I can have all the dice set up on their respective plinths, and hopefully this is going to work really, really well. I see that the 3D printer has apparently crashed. Or no. Oh no, okay, it was just the printer cam that froze for a moment. We're good. All right, so we can grab that. I'm trying to decide if I want to make these walls taller or if I want to bring this one shorter, because I think I have enough material to redo the two walls. Yeah, I could redo the whole thing, actually, now that I look at it. Trying to think. The big thing that I screwed up when I 3D printed this mold is this is all really good for this side where it's got all these plinths. The problem is normally what you do is you pull the mold out and then you flip it over and put it back in wherever you molded it. But you're obviously going to want a flat surface for that. And in this instance, I don't actually have a flat surface for the walls to groove into. What I should have probably done is created this same groove network. God, this thing just does not show up well on stream. These same grooves on the back side as well, so that I could rip it off this side, flip the whole thing over, and smack the mold down. But it is what it is, right? I mean, there's only so much you can do. So the question is, do I want to rebuild these sidewalls to be a little bit taller than they were? So I'd like to have that little bit of extra. So the reason why I'm contemplating this, to bring everybody else in along my line of thinking here. Alright, so this is one of the earlier molds I made before I realized how bad my desk was for level. So you have your base. So basically how this would end up working is you'd have your mold like this, and this is what would be on this portion here. Once that's hardened, you pull that off, clean up all these faces, get all the whatever adhesives and glues and such and such and such and suches all cleaned off, flip it over, and you put your walls on, put mold release on everything here, and then you fill that top, and you end up with this, the lid. This lid in particular had a problem because I made the base nice and thick, but the top is super, super thin and flimsy, which meant it didn't have enough mass to actually prevent lifting. And also, it's actually not the same thickness the full width across, because my desk wasn't level when I cast it. So you can actually note that if I flip this all the way around, you can see one half is like half the thickness or less of the other end. Making the sidewalls taller would allow me to get away with a little bit more of that. You don't really want the bottom of your mold to be too thick, but you do want your lid to be nice and thick. Because your lid, over time, will start to do this. And then your mold will start... I know this one has it. Yeah. Just, oh, geez, you can't see any of it. It's almost like white is a terrible color. It'll start doing stuff like this, where it'll start tearing at the opening. So you want enough material there that it's not going to do so, but the lid needs to be nice and thick. So I'm thinking I might actually cut those walls a little taller than they were.
Did you know that apparently double stick tape gets to sit in its own specific section away from the rest of the tape?
I'm assuming it was in like home improvement or something silly.
No, I actually went to Rexall because I'm like I knew that
fair.
everything was going to be there. By the way, shout out to the Rexall Be-Well card. That was fantastic. Oh, hi there.
Oh, hi there.
Oh, hi there. Oh, hey, Jay. How you doing?
Jay unlurked because I had revealed who reverse Jade them.
Nice.
Yeah.
I see Hypo Gray. Very nice, very nice.
Right? It's hypocritical gray.
Okay. Fair enough.
Because they were talking about how they have a home assistant amidst all of the security stuff that they frequently talk about. Like, I know I'm a hypocrite, and then I presume the very anonymous person.
Yeah. The most hypocritical of hypocrites.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right.
Let's grab this. Masters.
Make sure you yeet the D6 that's got the thing on it.
Yeah, the D6 that's got the thing on it is usually the one that I add in. Okay. I just got to make sure I grab one that doesn't have the thing.
Okay, just saying.
Actually, oh, do I want to? No, I don't think I do want to cast this set.
Cast your own set?
Yes, I actually found the D6 this morning. Why is it broken? Two sevens in a row? 3 sevens in a row? Yeah, that's broken. I'm like, there's zero chance that it would... Well, it's not zero chance. It's just very highly unlikely that you would roll 4 sevens in a row. Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. That's an easy fix. Yeah. This is a family-friendly stream, Carrot. How dare you? Although this mold base may not actually work for this set of dice. D20 looks like it might work. I made this mold face for the dice I have been casting. That's pretty close. That's not bad. Yeah, we're good there. I think we might actually get away with it. I don't have 2 of these D6. Actually, I do have 2 of these D6s. The other one is upstairs on the table. So either I need to run up or Carrot needs to run down. I don't know which. I'll figure that out. Yeah, we can do that. However, we need to finish these ones I had rolls an unexpected token. I see Grays is rolling those fishy dice. Actually, I don't need to clean that one out. I got a resin version of that. Grays is getting kicked out of the casino for rolling rigged dice. So a critical miss or critical hit. I think it means you take a bonus action, but only as long as it makes 0 sense. Guess I'm doing Nightbot again today. I mean, if you just drop a note in, if you just drop a mod note, I can fix it later. That's an easy enough command to fix. So I'm just currently cleaning these out from the last attempt I made at casting them, because I did have issues with them with the last silicone I tried to use. And there's basically silicone trapped in a lot of these numbers. So I need to pick them all out, and then we're going to give these a good solid brushing to get rid of any errant material that's on them. Let me see this little nonsense here. That's the stuff I need to get out of the numbers, because otherwise it will cause this casting to fail as well. So we want to make sure that we get rid of that. But yeah, straight up, if you don't want to do any Nightbot, I don't blame you in the least, and I'm more than happy to do that, just obviously off stream. Just make sure I get it done before Thursday. Further to Gray's point earlier in the stream, though, I will not be streaming next Saturday. I am out of town. So, yeah. Not available to stream next Saturday. Have to make a last-minute trip out of town, so that's a whole thing. Honestly, picking all this stuff out is probably 90% of the reason why I haven't actually finished, haven't tried to recast these yet, because this is a very tedious job, which is perfect for on stream, because I get to do a tedious job, bore you all with it, and I get to chat over the top of it, which means I don't have to focus as hard. I think I might want to grab a fresh blade here, though, for this. The DM doesn't know what you want to do with that roll. Give me 2 minutes. I will be right back. I need to run upstairs for a thing and to refill my water. Be right back. Hello! Oh, I totally forgot to fix the delay command. Whoopsies! Ta-da! Rain, welcome in. How you doing? Love a good nan. It is indeed tasty. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to dump this razor blade. Actually, no, I'm not going to. I'm just going to grab a second handle and put this one in it. Because the other one is still fine for certain tasks. Just not good enough for this particular one. Now this handle is designed for slightly thinner material stock. But with a little bit of work, I'll be able to get this in there. Gonna grab a spudger, and we're gonna open that up a little bit. Because this is just soft aluminum, so I can perform that fairly easily. It's never good to be trying to force a razor blade somewhere it doesn't want to be. Usually involves you slipping and cutting the life out of your fingers. Apparently, that one doesn't have a large enough opening, so we are going to be taking this razor blade out and putting this one in. That one can go away. Need something a little sharper and that actually still has the tip on it. And while I was up there, I also grabbed the D6s that I have. I totally forgot that I should have grabbed some polishing paper as well, because these need to be polished before they can go in the mold. That's annoying. I'll have to run back upstairs again. But we will hold off on that. Alright, so we're going to clean up this D6, make sure it's nice and good. And like I said, we're going to be giving these a good clean before, like, good scrub in some isopropyl and all that other nonsense before they, before we actually cast them. But this is actually one of the other considerations of making custom dice for sale as well, is the dice that I've been making are actually knockoffs. So, and they're not even, the dice I've been making aren't even just knockoffs, they're knockoffs of knockoffs. So there's this very popular company, if you've ever received a dice ad, you've probably seen them. Hey, there you go. So there's a company called Dispel, and they're one of the largest kind of pretty dice manufacturers out there right now. Still not fixed. But yeah, Dispel is one of the largest dice manufacturers out there right now. And the thing about it is that when they were setting up for manufacturing, they reached out to a particular factory in China and had set everything up, had the molds done, had proofs made, were getting geared up for production. Something happened to the deal. I don't remember what the specifics were, but something happened to the deal. It fell out, and they decided to go a different, with a different manufacturing route. Siddles! Welcome in! Hello! But Dispel decided to go a different manufacturing route, and the problem is a lot of these manufacturing facilities over in China, it's actually a very big problem for electronics manufacturers and other manufacturers of that nature. They don't really care about like US or European copyright laws, just in general. And when the deal fell through, they went, well, we've got all these molds, we've got all these designs and everything. Why don't we just start selling them anyways? And that's exactly what they did. They were already all tooled up, so they just started selling Dispel knockoffs. Dispel, selling their dice for like $80 or $100 a piece. These knockoffs, basically identical in every way, because they're literally the same molds and the same processes, usually are in the $30 through $60 range. So we, during a Cyber Monday or whatever sale, picked up a set of the Dispel knockoffs, and that's what I have been dispel magic to get rid of Dispel. We picked up a set of the Dispel knockoffs, and one of the nice things about having mold making materials is if you have a set of dice that you like, you can just drop them in silicone and make as many sets of them as you want. You can just recast what you do. Now, for personal use, nobody really has anything to say about that, because they really can't. They are your dice to own and use however you so choose. However, the second you start trying to sell them, now granted, there's enough Dispel knockoffs on the market that chances of somebody actually coming after you, pretty minimal, but you would still be in violation of trademark laws, because you, not only did you happen to design a set similar, you're literally using their design work. So this set I'm currently cleaning up is a set that I designed and 3D printed. And max roll, natural 1. This is a set I designed and 3D printed, which basically means that if I want to sell these, if I want to license them out, sell molds, whatever I want to do, I own the intellectual property rights associated with these.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
I just realized, I'm like, you have your own Dispel knockoffs down here, but I brought mine down in the event that you wanted to.
I'll show them off. They're very pretty.
They are very pretty.
I mean, they're very pretty. They are very pretty dice.
Yeah. However, I do love the fact that, like, now when we look at some of these, we can look at them and be like, oh, sweet, so I know how to make this.
Like, this is, so it's a very, very pretty dice, but it is not a very complicated dice.
No, it's not.
This dice is literally this material here. I heard it beep.
Yes, you have a...
Armored Bunny Bear, thank you so much for 6 months in advance. Holy! Thank you so very much. That is awesome.
Oh, September.
Yeah, September, no kidding. My word. But yeah, it's basically just this stuff in a single color.
Armored Bunny, you're other half of JC Trash Panda, right? Yes. That's JC, the other resin person.
Ah.
There you go. I'm like, why do I remember that name?
Yes.
Yes.
First interaction in chat is to drop a 6-month sub, and then yes.
Armored Bunny, do you also stream, or is it just, or is JC the only streamer in the house? Let us know.
I think they said that their partner shows up on stream, but I don't think they said their partner streams, but please correct me.
Apparently Toby heard that there was excitement.
You know what?
Toby.
For a 6-month sub, absolutely have some Toby.
Absolutely.
Hello, bud.
Oh, thank you, Armored Bunny. This is realistically, this is the best part right here.
Oh, side tongue.
Hi. This is Toby, by the way.
Hi, Tobes.
Yes.
Hi. Hello.
Squee doggo. Hi. Hi there, buddy. Yes, this is Toby. He is a lab ski.
You're drooling on yourself, bud.
Of course he is.
You're drooling on yourself. Hi. Hello, buddy. That chomp, 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 chomp.
My butt.
Saturday is a good day for Toby.
So, oh my god, he loves Saturdays so much. Yes.
Hi. Like, he hates it from the perspective that we both go to other ends of the house and he doesn't know where to sit.
Mm-hmm.
But he does get a lot more treats than,
Yes, he does. Oh, are you a warm boy? Are you a warm boy? Does Mum need to find your cooling mat and put it out?
Yes, this is the carrot.
Yes, hi. There you go, buddy. There you go. Yes. Alright. I need to go find some water.
He's going with you.
Oh, apparently. Oh, the little walking shake. I don't know if the camera picked that up or not. That was the
It very well might have.
That was the cutest flipping thing ever. Just a little walking shake. Hi, buddy.
Hello, War Queen of the Mighty Mothman.
Love it. Yes, that is how I should be referred to from now on. Yes. There you go. That's all you get now.
Wives are war queens. JC is my war queen. Fair enough. I've got no issues with that. I mean, realistically, if I had to go into war with somebody, Carrot would be very, very high on the list. She is savage when it comes to that side of things. Just give her a handful of baseballs and a bat. Oh, did that get caught on the 3D printer cam? I do have a Discord, yes. Yeah, just... exclamation Discord. And we talk about projects and stuff like that. Oh yeah, it did get caught on there. Perfect. Always love to see that. 10 out of 10 would go to war with Carrot, right? But yeah, we have a Discord, talk about various projects and 3D printing and all the other various nonsense. Prior martial artist, veteran, Norwegian and German. She's one. Go see War Queen of the Mighty Mothman. Thank you, God tier mod. Yeah, so right now all we're doing, I am doing the ever so attractive task of cleaning out these numbers. Because they basically have a whole bunch of partially or fully cured silicone in it from my last casting attempt that did not work. And we're going to clean them up, but we're going to try and recast them. Because, like I said, selling dice, selling anything that is cast in this nature is a little bit contentious if you didn't pay for the rights to or own the rights to cast somebody else's design. And this is my design, so I own all the rights to it. I know that this particular dice, these exact dimensions, this particular font pack, all of that, nobody can claim that it is theirs because I actually took the time to make it, and I took the time to put the files together. I have the source files. I can prove that it was me that made this, and that puts us in the clear. Yes, Shield Wall is fantastic. Also similar vibes there. Yeah, this is like, I poked at some of it, like, some of these dice are either fully done or almost done, but there's always just a little bit more nonsense to be done. Especially because the nature of the dice going in is going to affect the quality of the mold coming out. So, like, before we actually cast this, I need to actually take 2 minutes and polish these up. So, either I'll have to convince the mighty War Queen to bring me some polishing materials, or I'll have to run back upstairs again. So, but we'll see how far we get. I don't know. Maybe we won't even get to that point in this stream. I hope we do. But we're also only going to be live for about another 45 minutes. So, who's to say? They're to die for. Oh, Siddles. I'm also slightly improving the profile of some of these numbers because it's a fairly thin font, which when converted over into a 3D print meant a couple of the gaps got bridged, and that means that the ink has nowhere to go when it comes time to number the dice. And that's not great. I personally found for getting an absolute super fine polish on resin dice, and that also extends to this because this is basically a photo resin. It's a 3D printed resin. Was going through the Zona papers, and then I have some Jeweler's Rouge on a leather strop, and that does a really good job. I've heard that same mirror glaze situation, but Zona papers will get you almost to a mirror polish, and then you throw a little bit of fine Jeweler's Rouge on there, and they come right up. And honestly, if a process could get them shinier and more reflective, I don't know if I would actually bother taking the time to do it. Yeah, I just take the Jeweler's Rouge and rub it onto a leather strop. If I bring that downstairs, you'll see what I mean. I've never tried that particular one. I do know that a number of people bailed off of it recently for other methods, but I've never personally tried it. Yeah, with the mini Dremel buffer. With the Jeweler's Rouge on a piece of leather, it's usually like 3 or 4 swipes and it's done. And I don't have to worry about sending a dice across the room with a Dremel. That's the other half of it, is like, I try to minimize the power tools in this process because both Carrot and I find it very soothing. And a Dremel is not a quiet device, but we're also working on very, very small faces. Like, getting a Dremel buffer on this, it's like, you know, the exact polishing compound I have, the stick is upstairs. I will need to, if Carrot is lurking and feels so kind to do so, would you be able to bring down the Zona Papers strop and compound? If not, I'll be up in a little while and come grab them. All of the polishing stuff, the zonas and the leather and the polishing compound stick. The polishing rouge I use is very, very well regarded in metalworking, which is why I have it, because I've done some jewelry and stuff like that. I made Carolyn's engagement ring and wedding ring and other such of that nature. So obviously having that, I try as much as possible to use what I have on hand for most things.
You know, our dog's never been loved. He's lying in his crate like it's the end of the world. Is this what you needed?
Yes, it absolutely is.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Do you want to? I was to say if you want a fresher one.
I think about the biggest one I have to do is this, and I don't need to remove a lot of material. I just need to polish it.
Fair enough.
So obviously, Zona papers, that's a thing.
Oh, are you talking about engagement rings?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not married right now.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do you want me to go get that too?
If you want to talk about it, then feel free.
I'm the one who made the rings. Takes a sip of water. Yes.
So this one here is a cut and polish compound. It's meant specifically for soft metals. So it's not meant for, so it works really well on like copper, finer golds, silver that's not too crazy. It's meant for precious metals, basically. The Euroluster cut and polish compound. This stuff is fantastic, and literally all I do is just rub it into the leather. And the nice thing is it is a bit more aggressive, but let's see if this dice here realistically should get a little bit more polish. Yasmin Arts, welcome in. Having a fantastic day over here. How are you? I think this actually is going to prove my point quite nicely. Realistically, I wouldn't have jumped all the way up here, but as an example, this dice here, as you can see, the finish is very frosted, not shiny at all. I realistically need to go through both my Zona paper levels. Just taking that and putting it on the polishing compound, super shiny. So there you go. You can see just, and that's not even properly prepared. That's just me dropping a rough sanded face on there, and that's just shy, like that's real quick and rough on making that happen. So like was able to skip a whole lot of steps with that. Obviously there's still some scratches and stuff because again I skipped a whole bunch of steps, but with that it basically allows you to not have to go up as high with your sandpapers, and it kind of goes up. This stuff, as it's super raw, it does a really great job of like pulling a bit more material, and then as it kind of burnishes into the material, then it will polish really nicely. So what I usually will have is like half of this freshly rubbed and then half of it burnished. So then you can start and then you move over and you basically get like a progressive grit system from one single compound. It's quite good. I quite like it. All right, flip back over to this camera. Fantastic. Always glad to hear you're following friends of the channel. Oh, absolutely. This works, honestly, this process works really well for dice. And this compound is specifically made for like Dremel work and stuff like that. I'm not using it the way it's meant to be. But if you're polishing like a big resin pyramid or something like that, you might want to use something a little bit more fluid, a little bit easier to move around. But for this particular application, it works really, really nicely. Just because we're working with such small cross sections. And also, this stick, wherever I put it, there. This stick, I've made a bunch of rings, some jewelry. I've repolished and polished our rings and necklaces and watches and all sorts of stuff with it. We've made probably 30 or 40 sets of dice with this. And, like, this is not a... Like, this is the only part... This is solid. And this thing is, I think, is only about $25 odd. I think it's sub 30. So... Every Tool is a Hammer. I'm actually reading that book right now. It's been on my nightstand for a while. I've been wanting to read it. I'm currently reading Every Tool is a Hammer. It's really quite good. I enjoy it. Adam Savage did get the first rule of thermodynamics wrong, because what they actually meant was the Newton's first law, and then called it the first law of thermodynamics. But, you know. Looks like a can of lemonade. Amazon has it for $15. There you go. There you go. Another one I would recommend in a similar vein from what I've read on the Vibe so far is Chris Hadfield's An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth. Really, really, really fantastic. Focuses a lot on kind of how to react to the things that you can't control and how to put it all together. Really fantastic. And also, yes, right to repair. Absolutely. We do not tolerate unitaskers as much as possible. There are certain things that, you know, that are only going to be good for a couple of things, but as much as possible, we try. One of the only acceptable unitaskers is a fire extinguisher, because that only needs to do one thing, and it needs to do it really well. Everybody should have a fire extinguisher in their kitchen and one in their workshop. Must meet a vast list of qualifications of use before repurchase. Yeah, as much as possible, I try and make my own tools, try to make my own stuff wherever possible. Obviously, sometimes that's not practical. It's not reliable or feasible financially or otherwise. Yes, Alton Brown. Your full collection of iFixit tools, right? I've got the right to repair right there. In the background, nice and blurry, is the right to repair stuck up on the wall there. Lots of full of fun, yep. A good fire extinguisher is something that you'll wonder why you have it until you actually need it, and there is just no substitute for it, so... I actually need to get a new extinguisher for in here, because the one that was for my shop got moved up into the kitchen. But I have other... I do take precautions on how I handle my different materials, and always end up planning some kind of route. I wanted to get one, a fire extinguisher or a right to repair printing. Because I just printed that from the PDF on my paper. Have the full collection of System Controls Technician Specialist. Very nice. Very nice. I've spent most of my career before coming back to university. So right now I am a mechatronics engineering student. I just entered my final year. We are so close to being done. But before, in my past life, before coming back to school, I did logistics and warehousing, safety, repair, tool maintenance, telecom, all sorts of various odds and ends. Tungsten mace head. You know, I don't mind the idea of a right to repair hammer, though. We might 3D model that at some point. Can I get the mods to make a note of a right to repair hammer? I would very much appreciate that. But yeah, so did all that, and what I've done up to this point really is part of like kind of my engineering career has been largely I've ended up doing a lot of instrumentation, and then lesser amount of, but some amount of minor in mechatronics and bioengineering. Wanted to make FMA prosthetics. You know, prosthetics is a really cool field, just mired with regulations, and not incorrectly, but it does make it really hard to move a lot of things quickly. And I'm not saying that the medical field should move at lightning pace. You know, safety is obviously very, very, very important. But there is obviously that trade-off of like a certain amount of regulation is fantastic, but it can cause certain innovations to die because you don't have the money to go through the regulatory process. Feel free to post whatever clip that is in the Discord, Rain, if you'd like. Thank you, Carrot. Yeah, my career path, like, I started out in transport, heavy hauling, oil field, all that stuff, because that's where I grew up, and kind of doing all of that. I was just miserable. I didn't go into university. Maybe a facility making that hammer. Not out of tungsten, but I can make one out of hardened steel for sure. Tungsten would be too heavy to ship, and I don't have the plasma cutter yet to cut tungsten. Yeah, ours, if we were to do it on this end, it would almost definitely be 3D printed. Because, like, obviously I've got that 3D printer there. I've got a resin printer on the far side of it, and then there's a little baby mini 3D printer that you can see right here. That's what that little thing on the wall is. Actually, that might be a pack of paper that's showing up on the camera, but it's just beside that. Making it actually out of metal might not be the worst thing, though. Do some tests, and you have a spot in the Discord, so you can... We have a project showcase channel, which is always, always, always welcome to show off what you're currently working on. I love seeing that stuff. Yeah, I assume that was Hacksmith, because Hacksmith Industries has done a bunch of different Thor hammers, and they're actually Canadian and actually only a couple of hours away from us right now. They have a whole process of a whole series of videos called Make It Real, where like they'll take like Thor's hammer and make it so it can like boost a truck. Yeah, Hacksmith is Canadian. They're in Kitchener, I want to say it is. Yeah. Yeah, a bunch of Canadian engineers. And you can really tell because they did a Thor's hammer that can only be lifted by the worthy, and they made the worthy be somebody who's wearing an engineering ring. Because the Canadian engineering, you get a pinky ring to wear on your dominant hand. So they basically made a handle that has a little conductive spot that a pinky ring would bridge. So if you're not wearing that pinky ring, then you can't lift the hammer because it's a massive electromagnet. Yeah, the guy who started Hacksmith went to Waterloo. Yeah. Yeah, Waterloo alum, as you can imagine. Nothing super shocking there. Yeah, they've done some really cool stuff. They've done, like, the Back to the Future, and there goes the tip of this razor blade. That's annoying. Well, do what we can. They did, like, the Back to the Future hoverboard. They've done Captain America's shield. They did a Thor's hammer that actually calls to your hand recently. They've done a whole bunch of stuff. They've done like web slingers. They got some notoriety for various lightsaber projects. They got a lot of notoriety for what I think is a little bit silly, because they're like, oh, the first lightsaber, and what they realistically did was just take an existing burner that belongs in a gas kiln and put some fancy flashing on it and then just turn it on, because the gas kilns are laminar flow nozzles, so you can actually get a super long consistent flame out of it. So they made they got a whole ton of credit for making the world's first like plasma lightsaber, when realistically they didn't actually design that. They just made all the stuff that made it look like a lightsaber and used a very heavily engineered nozzle that somebody else already built. But you know, there's always going to be stuff like that in any project. Why rebuild something that already exists, right? I posted my current project also for the wedding on the dice. Look at the Tamaya carbide burr for Gundam building. Work far better than an X11 build blade that you're using. Will never break. Made a milled carbide. About 15 bucks. Okay. Let's go take a look. Ooh, that's cool. Oh, I like that. Slab of spring steel, making for a stuffed animal guinea pig, named Lord Butternut. We did a 3D print recently of a file. We're gonna be doing some cosplay kind of stuff here soon. This is somebody else's design. This is from a game called Godfall, and there's a really fantastic character model in there. So on Thursdays we have set to learning new skills, and we are what's the tool? Oh, interesting. So is it basically just like a carbide scraper that you can peel metal off? That's interesting. But we've decided that Thursdays are Learning Thursdays, and those are going to be dedicated to learning a new skill. Currently, the skill that we are learning is 3D modeling in Blender. I will take a look at that for sure. Absolutely. I love my multi-use tools. I will 100% be looking at that. Thank you very much for letting me know. I'd never heard of those, so I'm excited to go take a peek at them. But yeah, we're learning how to 3D model in Blender, because like I'm pretty solid and quite good at 3D modeling in parametric software like SolidWorks. But so it's I'm following a tutorial, right? If you're used to parametric modeling softwares like what I am, Blender is very unintuitive. If you're used to that side of softwares, there's probably better ways to do it, but the tutorial isn't meant to be the best possible way to make something. It's meant to be a method that shows you how, exposes you to a whole bunch of the different tools and how to use them. So it might not be the most efficient way to make a glazed donut, but it is at least teaching you different types of mesh editing and nodal selection, and obviously a bunch of the hotkeys and other such of that nature. Yeah, it's the we're just following the standard Blender Guru donut tutorial as it currently stands. Before you can start making cool stuff in 3D software, you got to make a whole bunch of really dumb stuff. It's the reality. And in this instance, it's going to be a donut. But I know we're not going to end up finishing that tutorial, because a lot of the tutorial has to do with like cameras and lighting and rendering, and I just don't care. Because I already know how to use one rendering engine over in SolidWorks, and that's super fun. SolidWorks did a great job of rendering. So if I really, really cared, I could do something like that. But my current use case for Blender is specifically sculpting for 3D printing, so I really don't care what the render looks like. I'm honestly really pleased and surprised on how well people received the first of our learning streams. I was a little concerned that it was going to be me sitting here talking to myself, but people were here and active and excited about it, which I thought was really fantastic. Oh, I'm not even apologizing. I'm surprised. I didn't think people were going to be here for it. There are certain things I do and don't do on stream because I've noticed that certain things are not interesting and don't really you know, this whole thing. So you can always use the free Unreal 5 engine and export the file to Blender. Unreal is literally the king of modeling, and it's free unless you make a game and sell the game. I'm less about the modeling and more interested in the sculpting side of things. But I haven't really looked at the Unreal 5 engine modeling. From my understanding, and maybe I'm just out of the loop on the workflow, maybe they added some cool stuff, is I thought it was build the model in Blender and then import the assets into Unity or Unreal or whatever you're working in. Insane sculpting tool. I will have to look into that. Cool. Learning all sorts of stuff today. This is awesome. This is awesome. I love it. Clip Studio support. I'm not familiar with Clip Studio. I am an absolute noob when it comes to that side of things. I know very, 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 very little about the that side of all of it. I am also full of random knowledge, just different random knowledge than you, which is always awesome. Well, apparently Grays knows it. Wacom proprietary software for digital animation and design. Oh, okay. I probably should have known that. I have a Wacom tablet. I use it for my notes, and then whenever I'm decide to do some digital art. We actually haven't done an art stream here yet, which is silly. Like, the big problem is I'm not comfortable with digital tools. I'm not comfortable with the digital art tools. Like, I'm actually pretty good at like landscapes and stuff with a pencil. I just haven't spent enough time with digital tools to know what's going on. So you didn't dunk on art on stream? Oh, absolutely. Please post your artwork. When did I dunk on art on stream? I don't remember dunking on art. Please let me know if I did. It's different. I'm talking specifically like digital painting and that kind of side of things. I haven't done anything of that nature. Say you didn't finish an art piece for Streamfest. Yeah, that's fair. I thought about it. It actually was on my my to-do list. Yeah, I finished some Lego to dunk on our Lego peeps. That was very intentional. I thought about having like a painting ready or something because I really quite enjoy painting. Well, if you want to consider painting a miniature art, then I didn't. I did some, but you know. Really liberal in clip art, tons of tutorials and free walkthroughs. Yeah, it's weird because as much of the time I spend kind of in the digital world, I'm more interested in the digital stuff and how I can connect that to the physical. That's why I love 3D printing and stuff like that so much. I've had this 3D printer for the last like 8 years. It's it's not anywhere near the printer it was when I got it, because it's been rebuilt, rebuilt, upgraded, modified. It is a full Cyberman at this point. Like, frame-wise, you can say, yes, that is a Robo 3D printer. Otherwise, not really. Not really. It's running custom firmware, it's got touch sensor, it's got all of the stuff. But yeah, I thought about doing art for Streamfest. I just, honestly, we got to a certain point, I was like, I don't think we're gonna have time for all this. And then I did. But obviously I wouldn't have had enough time to actually get art done. And I think the first time I do art on stream is not going to be Streamfest. Although dunking on, like, Brenda, for instance, would be kind of funny. Could have done a hee carrot. I'd actually thought about something of that nature, but you know, it's always the stuff that you could do in retrospect, right? It was more, the reason why I didn't dive right into it is because of the setup. I didn't have that materials pulled together, and it would have taken me a couple of minutes to find my drawing supplies unless I wanted to do it with just like a Sharpie. And that didn't feel right to me, so. As much as Streamfest was an absolute meme, I did want it to be, you know, quality to a certain extent. Oh, I don't think I actually need to use this particular one. I think I have... Hold on. To the dice bag! Literal hot sauce. Oh, wow. Yeah, there's one. Perfect. By the way, here are some of the dice that we have made. Some of these are purchased, but most of these are bought, or not bought, made. These ones I'm really pleased with. Let me put the rest of these back. I got a good chuckle out of making these ones, which are electronic component dice. See some resistors and LEDs and transistors and MOSFETs and whatever across the whole set. I was also going through a box earlier today looking for double-sided tape, and I ended up finding these massive D6s, which, hey, that's a nice roll. Making dice isn't super hard, actually. Honestly, the biggest trick is just getting your mold set up. If you know how to make molds, just find yourself a set of dice that you like and chuck them in some silicone. If you don't know how to make molds, that's obviously a thing that you'd need to learn how to do. Or you can, there's a number of shops like on Etsy and stuff like that you can purchase molds from. The problem is, though, is that purchasing molds is tricky because it's not like you're purchasing like a wrench or a screwdriver. You're purchasing a consumable. It is possible. There are people that have made dice that light up. It is tricky. Because particularly if you want the side that is up, that's going to be particularly hard because at that point you would need to put some kind of IMU in there, which is an inertial measurement unit. We would usually refer to it more colloquially as like an accelerometer, and it basically tells you the orientation of something. So you'd have to have one of those in there and a controller and a battery source, likely some kind of inductive charging coil, And then you would also need LEDs for every single face all the way around. So it'd be a little bit tricky. It could be done, but it would be a very, very tricky engineering challenge. Now, welcome. Anne, how you doing today? Maybe flashback to my own senior year, we battled with IMUs and accelerometers. I'm definitely going to be working with them this year because we have our... we're building a rotating wing aircraft for Capstone. And one of the things I want to do is be able to collect flight data while it's moving around. So that's obviously going to be a big factor in all of that. There are no such thing as challenge in engineering. There's only dumb ideas and dumb ideas that actually worked. I mean, something can be challenging. It's just whether or not you enjoy the suffering that it brings or if you don't like it. Just taking a break from playing Splatoon. I've never actually played that game. I hear it's really fantastic. Big problem is I'm not a really big online gaming person. Like, I like playing games online with my friends. But, like, to go into, like, a shooter multiplayer room, I did a lot of that when I was younger. I just don't have the time and patience to be good enough to actually not just get frustrated when I'm playing in those. So I'm not either, but Splatoon is... Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm generally speaking that kind of person, but when it comes to like most shooter style games, the skill gap is just so freaking ridiculous that I've been playing Destiny 2 recently because I got that for free through one of the whatevers. Like my FromSoft games, Borderlands, God of War, Horizon, Ghost of Tsushima are also on my binge list. I hear Ghost of Tsushima is quite difficult. I don't know. I used to really enjoy like devilishly difficult games and all that kind of stuff. These days, a game has to be particularly good for me to want to suffer through it, because I want a game that respects my time. Like, I want challenge, I want it to be difficult and interesting and all that other stuff, but like a game like Hollow Knight, for instance. A game like Hollow Knight, you can actually do some stuff. But I've played other games that were just straight difficult for the purpose of bloating a playtime. So it's like, oh, well, I got 60 hours of play out of that. It's like, no, you got 10, but you spent 50 dying. Tech, welcome in. How you doing? I didn't realize Splatoon had a single-player mode, so that's interesting. That's always good. Good to know. Probably won't be picking it up anytime soon, but it's definitely good to know. Getting it over it with Bennett Foddy. I don't think I've actually played Getting Over It. So that's the thing. Also, welcome in, Cap. How you doing? FromSoft games are excellent. They say get good, nah, get smart. Love proving everyone wrong when they say that this boss is just impossible and whatnot. Just find a more creative solution. What's on the printer today? So last stream we printed this, a little dice rolling tray, and on the printer right now, because I ran out of white, is a hot pink lid that goes in here and then covers up the area, so you have a little dice storage. So there you go. That is what is on the printer right now. Oh, getting over it. Oh, yes, 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 yes. I played a knockoff of it, and it wasn't terrible, but I also know that I probably wouldn't have the patience to finish the whole thing. At least with getting over it, it's not like there's like an RNG chance there. It's if you fall, you just screwed it up, you know? And I think that's the big difference for me, is I think if the failures are more based in RNG versus skill, like for instance in Destiny 2, I was playing through and it said, hey, you need to go complete this particular dungeon. I went, all right, cool, fair enough. I popped in there and it was supposed to be something that you would get matchmaking with, but I got sent in there by myself. That's fine, that's not an issue. And was going through, challenging but having a good time, and they got to a part where it's like, hey, navigate this facility. Like, fair enough. And there's like a lever for a door, and you pull the lever and it kills you and sends you back to this checkpoint, and you find a different lever and it opens a door, and then you walk in and then spikes come out of the wall, and you press a different one and the roof collapses, and basically there was no indication of what would or would not kill you, and each particular portion had like 3 to 6 options of things you could engage with, and only one would be the one that would actually not kill you, which basically meant you had to brute force your way through this puzzle because there was no intelligence to it. It was just go die, and then you have to restart, and you have to go through all the puzzles again to get to the one you wanted. So it'd be like 3 options, then it'd be 2 options, there'd be 6 options, there'd be 5 options, and when you look at like the combinations, you could end up spending hours and hours and hours. So I just like that kind of thing isn't fun to me. I want player skill to be rewarded. I don't want chance to be rewarded. Not gonna do that one. All right, we should have enough dice here. This one might be good enough. We might still be able to use this one. Because that dungeon has been sort of closed off to most of the community, so you're pretty much soloing that unless you're with a group trying to help you. What I felt was the weirdest thing about that particular dungeon, though, is I looked up reviews for it because I wanted to see if I was alone in it, and everybody was like, it's amazing! And to me, I was very confused because everybody's saying that this is like the best one they've made in years. I'm like, oh, so how terrible are the rest of them? Because if you're finding this entertaining, I don't think this is going to be a good time. Let's see. Also, there is a logic to the puzzle, but you have to be in the know about the game as none of the hints are in the puzzle. Yeah, and see, that's the problem. Is like, if you look at, say like a Portal game, for instance, some of the puzzles are actually really tricky, but there's usually some kind of indication as to how it actually all should go together. It's actually a puzzle. It's not a thing like that. And what I found was particularly weird about that one particular dungeon in Destiny 2 is, at least where it, in the sequence of which it gave me the quests, up to that point, there had not been a single other trap in the rest of the game. There hadn't been that mechanic across the board anywhere else. So all of a sudden, you went from this looter-shooter to smashing my face against the wall trying to figure out all the different pieces. And at which point, it was just like, all right, cool. How many times do I have to die before I can move on? You know? I think it's been enjoyable as a new player, but I can totally appreciate why it'd be awful as an experienced player. Yeah, I think this one's going to work better than this one. Carrot, would I be able to get you to bring me down a fresh sheet of the green Zona? I actually need to move more material than I thought on this particular D6. If you're still floating around. Thank you. I know Carrot's very excited about this, because first of all, Carrot loves new molds, because new molds make very, very pretty dice. But also, they very much like the design of these particular dice. The nice thing is with this new mold system, I should be able to punch out new molds much easier. Those are almost all in dungeons only. The only place you might see something like very high-end in free world places, and most of which are stuck behind a paywall. Fair enough.
I wasn't going to come back downstairs for one thing, but
Oh, I see. All right. So Carrot wanted to bring these down as well. So this is just a pretty standard silver band. The actual wedding bands we used on our second wedding day actually have a big copper inlay in them, but couldn't actually seal them properly, so we tend to just wear the plain bands. But this is the engagement ring that I made for Carrot. So I started with a block of wax, carved it, got it all nice, cast it. This is a walnut inlay. And then this is a princess cut lab-grown sapphire. So got to have all of the wonderfulness and fantasticness of it all. And it was a lot of fun. I'd never actually done that before. Carrot actually had input on the design process and didn't...
Asshole.
Yeah, and didn't realize it was for their own ring. Because my parents' wedding anniversary was coming up, so I'd asked for Carrot's input on a new set of wedding bands, potentially for my parents. But, you know, my mom really has the same kind of tastes as you do. So just give me your feedback on what you think would be good. And it was a very busy time for Carrot at work.
He took advantage of me.
I absolutely took advantage of Carrot.
Took advantage of the fact that I was in the midst of just insanity at work. And so he was working on these rings up until, like, oh my god. He was working on these rings,
about September, October, when
you were working on them earlier on in the summer, and I vanished into work. And then in about August, I looked around and I went, hey, where'd the ring stuff go? Because I hadn't been in the house that much. I'm like, where'd the ring stuff go? How did that go over with your parents? And he's like, I didn't finish it. He's like, it's, you know what, I'll just do it for their next anniversary or the next big one. It'll be good. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. And then just vanished back into work again. And, you know, jackass.
Yep.
Anyways.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. And then I also had the added bonus of I made the ring box, and we always had this joke that we could never break up because we'd have to split the wine, because Carol and I both enjoy wine, and at the time we had a fairly substantial wine collection. So I basically made the ring box like a little wine bottle. And I'd made the first version of it, and then I heard her dad out behind the shed, because that's where my lathe was at her parents' place. And I'd made the first version of this ring box out of a piece of like Douglas fir or whatever it was. We drank or left a lot of it behind in BC, and we've also been in an engineering program for 5 years. We don't have the money to maintain a big wine collection. We have a couple of notable wines. We have some nice ones on the rack, but when we left, when we were in BC, we had, when we left, we'd given away probably about 6 cases of wine, had another 2 or 3 drank on the night that we held a big kind of going away party at our house, and then we left another 5 or 6 with Carolyn's dad, and I think we brought 2 or 3 with us. Engineering, not engineering. There we go. That's good. I'll have to pull the ink out of this one, but that's all right. You'll also notice, for anybody that's familiar with the Zona system, you'll also notice that we skip a massive amount of the grits. And that's mostly because we can. Because that polishing compound does a fantastic job of kind of taking up that last chunk. So this D6, I'm actually going through and sanding it right back and doing all the stuff. And I actually, before I do a final polish, I'm going to grab a pair of tweezers and pull the ink out of the numbers, because obviously that will cause me problems when it comes time for casting. So this is just acrylic paint. And it doesn't come out under normal use, but if you just grab a pair of tweezers, for the most part, you can actually just pick the paint right out of most dice, because the acrylic paint doesn't really like. That's kind of funny and entertaining. Put that little 4 over there. The acrylic paint doesn't really like binding to the epoxy resin. So you have this really fantastic point where you can actually pull this out if you need to, and it makes it really easy to re-ink dice as well. So if you don't like the color you did a dice in, like if it's opaque, just paint over it. It's not an issue. But if it's a clear dice, what ends up happening is you can see that paint through the walls. So obviously you need to be mindful about what you do there. So if you re-ink it, then the old paint will be still visible through. So you can grab a pair of tweezers and just yank all of that paint out. As long as you're careful, you shouldn't scratch your surfaces or anything like that. There we go. I'm seeing 1 or 2 features that I'm actually going to sharpen up a little bit with the hobby knife here before we move on, which I put somewhere there. Like on the 6, we've got a little bit of a blob in the number here, so we're going to cut that out. We're going to clean up that opening a little bit as well. That peeling feeling, right? Honestly, I'm just entertained that I managed to get a full number out all at once. That makes me laugh. 3 I'm happy with. That 1. Is that 5 good? Yeah, could use a little touch up. Let's poke this a touch. So we want to make sure that, like, these numbers are quite deep, but some of the features are a little bit thin. They closed up when the printer was running them, because this is all UV, and a little bit of light leakage is always bound to happen. And when light leakage happens, you end up losing some detail on your features, which for the most part isn't a big issue. But in the case of small enclosed features like this, you can end up closing up the openings that you're actually needing. Yeah, Carrot does not like uninking dice. Carrot loves inking dice, though. Inking dice is a fine activity. I don't care either way, honestly. There we go. Alright, let's give that one more run through our blue Zona. And then we can grab our leather strap, and we can make that happen. And I see that we're a little bit after 2 o'clock. I know I can't stream for too much longer, because I am running a Dungeons & Dragons game at 3. So I need to be offline in enough time to get everything set up for that. The session's basically all prepped. I just need to go reread my notes and all that other nonsense, right? Actually, I'm going to take that one face down a little bit further, now that I can see the polish on it. Because keep in mind that when you're working on regular dice, like dice for a bag, if there's an imperfection or two, that's fine. It doesn't really make the biggest difference. But if there's an imperfection in your master, that shows up on every single dice that you are going to cast in that mold going forward. So the surface finish, any little nicks, dings, holes, pits, blobs, anything, that is all going to show up. So you want to make sure, as much as possible, to avoid that. Yeah, there we go. See, the foreface has a bit of a pit as well. Obviously, there is a certain line where you need to draw it of pulling too much material off, because pulling too much material off will screw with the balance of your dice. But not as much as most people seem to think. You know, we're not making casino dice here. These are not going to be absolutely perfectly balanced. But generally speaking, for D&D, they're fine. Particularly like on a D20, the layout of the faces, the way everything is arranged, is very much like high-low, 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 high-low. So even if you have one particular side that is more inclined to show up than another, it's generally not going to equate one-to-one for higher rolls. You just might have a couple of specific numbers show up a little bit more often than others. But I laughed because there was this YouTube channel that does like mold making and resin casting and stuff like that. And they basically the start of the video is them coming in like, yep, these stupid dice makers don't know what they're doing. They can't make a balanced dice to save their life. They don't know how to do any of this, so I'm going to show them all what's what. I'm going to show them how to make a dice mold, how to make a perfectly balanced dice. And they went through and they grabbed some dice and they recast them and they did all that. And their conclusion at the end of the video was, who does this? This is terrible! Because they basically came in big strutting stuff and realized that actually there's a lot more that goes into making dice than they were really willing to recognize. Yeah, so Mothman rant. There was a lot more to it than they had thought previously, and it turned out to be a lot more difficult to make a perfectly balanced dice than they had anticipated. And they basically ended up having to eat their own words. So if we flip over to this screen, so like this is coming off of the blue Zona. Already has a nice shine, pretty good. I mean, that's probably similar to what you would get, like if you went to Walmart and bought like a D6 off the shelf, it would have about that amount of shine. But after we toss it on the on that polishing compound, you can see, look at that. That compared to that, not really much of a competition. So that does a really lovely job. But yeah, I just found it hilarious. Like, the number of times I have met or worked with people that are like, this is how things are going to be done, this is how we're doing it, because in my industry we do things this way. And it's like, would you like to know what's going on in our industry first? Would you like to kind of understand why the processes are the way they are, why people do things the way they do, before you try and innovate on an industry that you don't understand? It's like, no, we're going to change things, we're going to do it this way. And it's like, okay. And then, you know, things blow up in their face and they go, who could have ever seen this coming? It's like literally everybody beneath you that tried to tell you this coming in. And it just very much had that same kind of vibe of like, yeah, you should have known better. Ro, welcome in. How you doing? What? Just waiting with bated breath for Ro to finish their thought here. I was looking only on the main camera, looking at Cole's torso while he was talking about something blowing on the... Am I having full streamer brain? I don't understand what that sentence means. I don't know what that sentence means. I'm doing well. How are you, Ro? Saturday is treating me well. I'm glad it's not just me that's confused by that message. Okay, good. Sometimes when you're streaming, it's hard to follow a conversation. And I felt like I was just having a moment of like, is this something really I'm missing here? Apparently not. Apparently everybody else is missing it too. But hi, Ro. Welcome in. Yeah, Ro, the fantastic streamer who actually does have a face and also has legs, as confirmed by a recent stream Carrot and I were witness to. They predominantly stream working on GPS data, basically like mapping remote locations for various initiatives. Not anymore, not streaming anymore. Okay, so you're back off of streaming until somebody bullies you into streaming again, because I know that you've said you're not streaming about 3 times now, and I keep seeing you go live. Thank you so much for the gift sub to Ro, Carrot. Much appreciated. Gotta have those emotes, right? I don't know why I'm on my face cam still. Makes me feel less weird if you're looking at my hands doing something than my face. And like, you might still be looking at my face, but at least it's a smaller portion. Yeah, we have some new emotes, Ro. Courtesy of Dermo, predominantly. And some wonderful tech issues that we were having. Only hands. Yes, exactly. Yeah, man. I've recast this dice a couple of times without, with the ink in there, and it hasn't been an issue, but you know what? If this is going to repeatedly be my master, there just shouldn't be any ink in it, so that's why I'm actually taking the moment to do this. Chaos bit! I really need to update my... I gotta fix my OBS because it, for some reason, turned off my Frankerface plugin, which is annoying because I lost a bunch of emotes and I also lost my pronoun plugin built right into my OBS chat. So I gotta fix that between streams. Keep forgetting to. And this one has already been sanded, polished, and is all nice and pretty. I just need to clean it up a little bit. I was multi-tabbing and heard Dermo, was not sure what you... Yeah, emotes. Dermo grabbing those emotes, that's why. Hi, Dermo. I think we're going to finish up this one dice here, and then we're going to Dermo and tech issues. Yeah, the new emotes, that courtesy of Dermo clipping my tech issues. Yeah, because I recently got a new computer, and the first version of it I had was occasionally lurking on your stream while looking for a job. Most of the days I'm helping my brother build his house. How about you? Well, that's fantastic. I hope the job hunt goes well, and I hope that the house construction is going nice and smoothly for you. I just started back into my semester this week. It's going to be a very, very busy time with lots and lots of projects, most of which are probably going to be featured on stream at some point or another. I'll set up there. And yeah, I hope the job hunt goes super smoothly, though. I know job hunting can be a real nasty, nasty piece. Bring that down here. Let's see. That is a fantastic option. Dermo does need an artist badge. I'll actually be fixing that. You're totally right. I need to... Well, whether they get the badge, at a minimum, they will be definitely getting attribution on those emotes. I don't think I've used all of the artist badges yet, though, so I don't see why not. Because I think you only get 5 artist badges, but I can attribute the emotes to whoever made them. Yeah, that should be happening, for sure. Ooh, haven't been there in a while. Yeah, let's do that. All right. I appreciate everybody hanging out with me on this lovely Saturday. I need to go get prepped for my D&D game at 3. We will be back here Thursday evening for some learning. It's going to be this going forward, I think, for the time being. Until projects get weird and I need to steal that time to work on them. I think we're going to be doing some learning on Thursdays and working on projects on Saturdays. Finishing things where we can. I know we finished resealing the pressure chamber, which is nice. But otherwise, thank you very much for all hanging out. We will see you on Thursday. I am not going to be streaming next Saturday. But we're going to send this love on over to Zambabe. We haven't had the opportunity to raid over into them in a while. And I recommend for everybody that you turn your volume down just a little bit so that they don't blow out your speakers. Finished projects. You gotta wait for next Dreamfest for that. No, not at all. Gotta make it happen. Any day is project finishing day. Yeah, thank you all for being here. Thanks for helping me get some dice fixed. And yeah, crank it if you want, but Zan will blow out your speakers. Just fair warning. Yeah, we'll see you on Thursday. Have yourself a wonderful evening. And definitely not the case, Ro. Definitely not the case. All right, talk to you all later. Bye.